Okay, so in my Brave New World 1984 video, a lot of people, like, I made a joke about Fahrenheit 451 being terrible, and a lot of people wanted me to do a whole video just on that one. And I really didn't feel like it at first, because, like, it's just kind of a bad book, and I didn't want to have to, like, reread it or even skim over it again in order to get a better idea of it so I could, like, go in depth on everything. But a lot of people were asking for it, so I was like, I just figured, you know what, I'll do rant on it. And well, it's pretty much what I said in that video. It's just kind of a terrible book because it's things like 1984 and Brave New World. Those have like an actual message behind them. Like 1984 is essentially totalitarianism is bad and it's awful for the people that live under it. Really, very straightforward. And people try and talk about Fahrenheit 451 about how, like, oh, it's anti-censorship. It's talking about censorship, and it's really not. It's really not. Like, Ray Bradbury, brief aside, I don't hate him. I think his other works are pretty good. Like, check out Harrison Bergeron if you haven't. That's a pretty good book, and I generally respect his work. But the, Fahrenheit 451 was terrible, and he himself actually came out and said, no, it's not about censorship. It's just about people no longer want to read books and they just want to watch TV, and TV makes you stupid. Like, he's just an angry old man ranting about the dangers of television. That's all it is. That's all he wrote it to be. And granted, you can talk about, like, death of the author and stuff, and how, okay, he maybe intended it this way, but it comes across more this way, and that's how I interpret it. And that's fine, but even in that sense, it doesn't really work well as a censorship allegory. Wait, no, allegory is not the word. It doesn't work well as commentary on censorship, because you see, in that world, books just aren't allowed, and if you are caught with them, then people will come and burn them all, and usually burn your house down as well. And that's where the title of the book comes from. It's at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, or 451 degrees Fahrenheit, paper spontaneously combusts. Although I don't think that's true, actually. I think it's actually higher, but that's where the title comes from. But the thing is, that's obviously reminiscent of, like, Nazi book burnings and stuff. But the Nazis weren't just burning any old books that they got their hands on. They weren't saying, yes, we hate the written word, just memorize shit from now on, like, only watch TV, only listen to radio. No, they weren't doing that. They were burning books with ideas they did not like in them. Like, they were burning books on Judaism, or books that were on science and stuff, but they were written by Jewish authors, because they're saying, oh, Jewish science, it's evil. They were burning books on, like, LGBT stuff, like homosexuality and transsexuals, and, you know, research that had been done on that sort of thing that was burned, or psychological research on sexuality and stuff that was burned. Books on socialism were burned, because these were all ideas that they did not like. They did not want their population following, and they just wanted gone. They wanted to destroy it. That was a huge part of their ideology. So that's why they got rid of it. But stuff that they didn't take an issue with, or stuff that supported their ideology, that was fair game. That's how totalitarianism works. And 1984, that's in there. And Ray Bradbury in Fahrenheit 451, all books are just burned. Like, we don't know anything about what the government is like, other than, yes, all books are burned. And I mean, it's implied that they're at, or not really implied, but it's said that they're in some sort of big war, but we don't know anything else about it, really. And it seems that television is just distracting people, but again, the government's just burning all of the books. It's as though they're saying, yes, we just hate the written word, watch TV, be dumb, because mwahaha, that's what TV is for. That's not what it's for. And yeah, sure, you can say, like, reading is better for your mind and everything, and I believe it is. I I don't actually know, but, and obviously I like reading. This is what my channel's about. But, like, that's not really saying anything when Ray Bradbury just comes up and says, yes, government wants to destroy all books to make you dumb. It's not really saying anything. At that point, it's a straw man. And, like, 1984 and stuff, and other, you know, good dystopians, they may take ideas and, like, blow them up to 11, but they're not really straw man. Because the world of Oceania, in the real world, you can't, there's no governments that are that totalitarian and can follow you that closely. And, like, some people argue that in the modern world you can. I don't really see it, but admittedly it is debatable. But certainly back in Orwell's time, they couldn't. The technology just did not exist in order to do stuff like that. But a lot of those same ideas, like doublethink and newspeak and all that, were still around, and so he just took them and blew them up to a bigger. Oh, sorry, what was I saying? He just blew them up to 11 so that people would be able to see them better, like they would stand out more that way. So it's not really a straw man so much as an exaggeration. Whereas no one is saying get rid of all books altogether all the time and just replace it with TV the way Ray Bradbury was complaining about in Fahrenheit 451. Just no one is saying that. There's certainly people saying get rid of some books because that's always going to be a thing. Like this knowledge is dangerous, blah blah blah, burn it. But there's no one saying get rid of all of it and replace it with TV. And so at that point, it just becomes a straw man, and Bradbury is just an angry old man ranting about how evil television is. And in fact, I believe he actually walked out of a lecture because people were trying to tell him, "Oh, it's about censorship and stuff." It's not. It just is not about censorship at all. And in fact, even shitty young adults dystopias that were all the rage for a while, and I've made fun of those plenty. Don't worry, I'm not going to go too much into this, but even those, if they didn't have a point, you could still kind of enjoy them as a guilty pleasure because they have action, they have some fun characters, they might have an okay storyline, and that can make up for not really having any sort of deeper message because not everything needs to have a deeper message. It's great if it's there, obviously, but some stuff can just be fun. And it seems like Bradbury kind of forgot that when he wrote Fahrenheit because yes, obviously all the TV and everything is great, and it's great in terms of entertainment, but it's distracting people, and that's bad. And sure, yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. But then the only books that the main character ever reads, and admittedly, I don't even remember his name, but the only ones he ever reads are like super serious and like, oh, life is suffering, life is pain, and here's big ideas about how you should live and all that. And you can't go through life just reading shit like that and just consuming things like that. It makes you a boring person, and it makes you miserable. And what was I saying? And it kind of paints the main character as being this moral beacon of righteousness that none shall ever rival, which, I mean, granted, that's a common thing in dystopia. Like, they are above most people. Like, most people like things as they are, and then the main character comes along and is like, oh, I'm better than you. I see through all this. I want to go back to how things were or change things for better or something like that. And Fahrenheit kicks that up even more than I think Bradbury was intending to do, because the main character, one, he just straight up kills someone near the beginning of the book. Yeah, you remember that? Like, someone's in their house while he's burning all their books, and they're like, no, I'm going to stay. And he just sort of shrugs it off, and so they stay in their house and burn alive. Like, you remember that? He fucking does that, so he's kind of a dick in my eyes. But even beyond that, like, he clearly thinks he's better than everyone, and he goes out of his way to prove how much better he is than everyone, but at the same time, being smarter and being more morally righteous than everyone causes him to be oppressed by everyone, because did Onision write this? I it really feels like something Onision could have written. Like, his main characters are, morally righteous, even when they do terrible things. They're obviously so much smarter and more badass than everyone, but at the same time, they're these oppressed, terrible victims because the world doesn't understand their genius or something. And that's what Fahrenheit 451 feels like to me. So to summarize, main character's an ass, story doesn't really go anywhere, there's no real message, and whatever message it was trying to send just comes across as really stupid. And I guess I don't particularly like the prose and how it's written either, but, overall, just shitty book. I was forced to read it in high school, and I didn't hate most books I was forced to read in high school, but that one I did. I hated it a lot. I didn't even hate Anthem. Okay, I read Anthem. That's Ayn Rand. I read that one, thought it was okay, and I still hated Fahrenheit 451. So, yeah, shitty book.